we're going to share the presentation.
Yes, great.
Such as it is. That sounds a bit bold, doesn't it? Presentation, but anyway.
That's all right. That's all right.
I've got some slides, so I'll share those and talk to those. And we've got a couple of films, which I hope the tech will allow us to share with you as well. So here goes with the screen share.
And do you want to just introduce who you are, guys, as well? So,
yeah.
Shall I go first? Because Helen's concentrating on the technology.
Of course, of course.
Thank you, Gail.
I'd like to introduce Helen as well. I'm Gail Thomson, one of the. Oh, there we go. It's come up great. One of the trustees of the A Bear Named Buttony charity. I'll introduce my two wee pals. If I can, because it's taken me a wee minute to get them propped up so you can actually see them. But we thought you might want to actually see one of the Buttonies. This obviously is not a bear. This is one of our Buttony bears. It's actually a rabbit. And also something that our trustees have is we've got a wee pocket handbag-sized bear. So we do take them out on trips, and we've not done that much of that recently. Actually, take them out on trips and then post these photos on social media. And our young children supporters in particular quite like to follow what Buttony's up to.
Great.
So sorry, Helen, I'll let you introduce yourself then, because you look like you're organised with the technology.
Well, hopefully. So hi, I'm Helen Macfarlane, and I'm also a trustee of A Bear Named Buttony. I'm short of props tonight because all my props are still with Jenny. They're in COVID isolation and have been for a while. Yeah. So you'll just have to bear with us with the slides. So I'm going to start a little bit and talk about the project, and then Gail will go on and explain a bit more about the work of the charity and some of the more recent projects that we've got on the go. So A Bear Named Buttony is the brainchild of our amazing friend Jenny Gail, MBE, and the reason that Gail and I became trustees of the charity. Now, unfortunately, Jenny can't be here today to speak about Buttony herself, because as Buttony's mum, she's the font of all knowledge, bear and button. But we'll do our best today in Jenny's stead. Normally, I would take questions as we go along, particularly if you find anything unclear, but I'm not sure what you do with Zoom, Pauline. Do we wait till, is it best to wait till the end and have a Q&A?
You could have different points of questions, so you could do it after your screen share. You could do some questions, or after your film, whatever you want to do. We're very easy.
Right, that's fine. And do you use the Q&A function on Zoom or not? No.
Sometimes, but it's nice just to talk, because sometimes that's good too.
Sure, that's fine.
If you want to put questions in, then I can put them to you, or I can spotlight them and they can ask them themselves. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So the way I feel hope it's going to go is I'll talk a little bit about how the Buttony project first began. I'll explain what a stoma is and why children may need stoma surgery. I'm going to talk a little bit then about the taboo and social stigma around life with a stoma. And also I can share my own personal experience as a parent of a child with a stoma. And in and amongst, I've got a couple of short films, as I've already said, and we'll show those, and it'll be a bit of a change from hearing me talk. So how did the Bear Named Buttony project first start? Well, Jenny's daughter, Ailey, was the inspiration for the project. Ailey has lived with a stoma for many years and had her first stoma at the age of 3. It was seen as a type of medical condition that didn't make for easy conversation, and Ailey and her family have lived through many years of appointments and surgeries, whilst not feeling able to talk about stomas and bowels openly. The relative lack of support and resources to help children and young people with a stoma led Jenny to establish Buttony Bear as a resource that could help children, young people and their families navigate through complicated medical journeys and conversations. And at the same time, it can be fun and offer comfort. Mm-hmm. So here are our Buttony friends for you. A couple of teddy bears and a rabbit like Gail's. Now, Ailey is now 23 years old and is an active and articulate advocate, raising awareness about stomas and the associated health and personal issues for children and young people. So Buttony here is a special bear for children having surgery to create a stoma. What is a stoma, you might ask? Why do children need a Buttony? And those points I'll come on to shortly. But firstly, let's just get us all thinking about a socially taboo subject, something which we all need to do as human beings, but may make you squirm and embarrass just to think about it. So what am I going on about here? Because I bet you thought this talk was going to be about cuddly bears and rabbits and children, and we'll get to that. But in an age when virtually no subject is off limits and medical stories are daily news, bowels are still pretty much a taboo subject. So where does this all fit into the story of this cute bear for children? Well, Buttony is about breaking down barriers and normalizing something that we don't easily talk about. Because everybody poos, everybody jokes about poo. We've even got the poo emoji now, and shopping bags with the poo emoji on it to put your food shopping in. In fact, in Scotland, we're actually secretly obsessed with bowels. You just have to go to the nearest chemist shop and see the shelves full of pills and potions to make you go. And as soon as you are going, there's as many pills and potions to stop you going. If we, as adults, find it hard to speak openly about our bowels and our digestive system when they're functioning normally, then imagine how hard it is to come to terms with an illness or a genetic condition that means you can't poo like the majority of the population. Perhaps your poo is collected in a bag and it reaches that bag through a surgically made opening on your abdomen, like this wee chap.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cutie. So poo, it's in a bag on his tummy, and here he has his Buttony bear to keep him company and a stoma bag where the Buttony bear's poo would be collected. Just excuse me a moment. I think it's the cold air and the snow.
Yes. Where are you talking from, Helen?
Pitcaple in Aberdeenshire.
Oh, great. Great. So you got a lot of snow there?
Not too bad, but still here.
Yes.
There are more than 10,000 people living in Scotland with a stoma at any one time. UK-wide, 120,000. In children, it's difficult to find the exact number. However, over the last year, with the Buttony Bear Project, we have sent out 500 bears. So that will give you an indication of the number of stoma surgeries that have been made for children.
Mm-hmm.
So why might a child need stoma surgery? Often there are different reasons to adults. You may know, or you yourself may have a stoma. Often in adults, they're formed for people who have had surgery for bowel cancer, have Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, things like that. In children, stomas are formed for premature babies when they have an infection or inflammation called necrotizing enterocolitis, when the bowel isn't properly formed. There are children with congenital anomalies like anal rectal malformations, children who've got motility disorders where waste product doesn't move properly through their digestive system. Infection, I've already mentioned, spina bifida, trauma, or more coming into adolescence, then again, Crohn's disease may necessitate somebody having to have surgery for a stoma. And one of the aims of our charity is to raise public awareness about life for children with a stoma and reduce the social stigma surrounding that. So I'm just going to move on to talk about what a stoma is. Now, I need to stress here that I have no medical training whatsoever, and I hope there's no colorectal surgeons sort of lurking in the background. And if there are, please shout. You could possibly. Okay. So we use a special apron usually at these talks before. I have used this special apron to demonstrate how a stoma is formed, and it's a way to do that that's not very scary or very technical to children and adults, and it can help alleviate fears. And we get these aprons from Anatomical Aprons by Joy, who's somebody that sews them in the USA. So here is somebody who may have some familial resemblance to me sporting the apron, and we can show how the food would come down the esophagus here, going to the stomach, round the small intestine, up the large intestine. And we can also demonstrate by closing the apron how a stoma is formed. There are various types of stoma. In a person with bowel disease in the colon, for example, a surgeon will separate the bowel at the end of the small intestine, perhaps at the ileum here. Are you seeing where I'm pointing? Is that clear? Okay. She'll then close off the open end of the colon, or maybe the colon will be removed altogether, depending on the reason for the operation. An opening will be made in the abdominal wall in the child's tummy, and the surgeon will then pull down the ileum through the opening, create a little cup, and suture it back down on itself. And that type of stoma here in the small intestine that is called an ileostomy. Another type of stoma is a colostomy, and as its name suggests, that would be made on the colon and can sometimes be brought out here, here, or more often here, just above the rectum. This is a picture of a baby's tummy with a colostomy, and this baby has something called a mucus fistula, which is the end of the colon that's not actually functioning. So that's being defunctioned to allow for rest or for whatever reason. And then this stoma here, this is the bit that you will put the bag on, and it would collect the feces. You could then, some stomas are permanent, but often in children they're temporary and can be reversed, and they would then just poo through their anus. Is that an appropriate time to ask for people to ask any questions? Is that clear?
Yeah,
or
let's have a little look and see what I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and does anyone have any questions, folks? So far, unmute and then shout Pauline, and I'll find you and spotlight you. Anyone get any questions or any thoughts so far? Everything clear? Everything's clear, Helen.
That's good. We'll move on then. So move on to talk a little bit about life with a stoma. As I explained in my introduction, Jenny was inspired to start producing Buttony Bears by her daughter Ailey. Ailey is an award-winning young filmmaker, and today I'd like to show you two of her films, which I think expertly demonstrate what Buttony is all about. The first film is one that Ailey made for BBC The Social, and it features Ailey herself talking about her stoma, and hopefully she'll explain to you a bit more about what having a stoma involves. Now, I'm not making any excuses for this film, but I should warn you, it's quite explicit. It's hard-hitting, the language is colourful. That's Ailey.
Great.
Now, just let me know, Pauline, if there's anything dodgy with the sound or with this.
I'm sure it'll be fine. Sometimes they get a wee bit laggy. The sound follows slightly after the picture when we're playing it on Zoom, but it's something it's a Zoom thing. We can't help it. So, but everyone here, most people here have seen films on Zoom before, so we're all up to speed on that. Thank you.
Right, let's see if this goes then. Here we go.
So you're sharing your screen now, Helen?
Yeah, I thought so. So you're not seeing anything?
I'm not seeing anything yet. So what if you've got it? If you got it behind Zoom, start and then go back to Zoom, share, and then it should come on. That's it. You're sharing now. That's fine. Yeah, that's it.
That's okay. Sorry.
That's no problem. No problem.
Hello, my name is Ailey. I am 21 years old as of today, and I have a stoma. A stoma is basically a little piece of your gut that a surgeon pulls through your abdomen, and then waste just goes into a pouch instead of out the old butthole. People usually have them because of some kind of bowel disease, resulting in their bowel not working properly without a little help. Now, I've had a stoma since I was 3 years old, so it's something I've always known and been used to, but I only started telling people about it a year ago. 17 years of hiding a big part of my life, and that had a big effect. And I think that was simply because of the sort of taboo around bowels and bowel disease. It's one of the few illnesses that people just don't really talk about. So in school, I would have friends with things like asthma, diabetes, or even a broken leg, and they could talk freely about that. But I got the sense early on that bowels were not to be talked about, so I didn't talk about mine. And that was really rough on me. I was very reserved and shy in primary school and through a lot of secondary school. I think another reason people struggle to talk about stomas and things as well is the sort of stereotype around them, that it's only older people who have them. And I definitely found growing up that the only times I really heard about stomas was either people sort of joking about old people having stomas, or on TV in medical programs, someone would find out they had to have a stoma and it would be like they were freaking dying. And that was really sad for me to see. And I think the thing is, for people to know who may end up with stomas in the future, is that they're really not as bad as they seem. Sure, it's an adjustment at the start, but honestly, it's fine. The best analogy would probably be, it's just like having a period all the time. Basically, you're just kind of more aware of toilets. Depending on what kind of stoma you have, you might need to use the bathroom a little more, and you're quite often a bit wary of smells or leaks, even though it's very unlikely to happen. So kind of annoying, but not that bad. A lot of people, I think, when they get them, feel like it's a bit gross, but honestly, I think this is prettier than a butthole. So suck on that, butthole people. That's you. Yeah, you know who you are. For most people, it allows them to go back to living their lives the way they want to. Unfortunately for me, I was one of the unlucky ones who still has a lot of shit going on. My gut is still a bitch. Stoma helps, but it's not the final solution for me, which is why I've got so many scars and this bad boy, a gastrostomy. But yeah, for most people, it lets them go back to living their life, and that's very important and so worth it. The thing is, as well, talking about stomas, they're not something people know a lot about. But statistically speaking, you know someone with a stoma, they've just probably not told you about it. And people can be really seriously ill and just hide it because they're embarrassed that it's to do with their bowel. It's just another organ, and trying to suppress and hide something like that can really have an extremely negative effect on someone's mental health and life in general. So we need to be more open about it so that in future, people who get stomas won't be so scared and won't feel they have to hide themselves. Telling people about it was like such a massive weight off my shoulders, but such a scary thing to do. Like, honestly, I would liken it to when I came out, like it was that scary, like that heavy thing hanging over me. So I needed to finally tell people about it, and it felt really good. My body confidence has really like skyrocketed, and I will now wear bikinis on the beach and crop tops regardless of weather. Just because I've hidden my stomach all my life, now it's kind of a novelty to have it visible all the time, even if I am freezing. I think it just makes me feel more me.
Okay, that's Ailey for you.
That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty impactful.
Yeah. I like how she wears a crop top no matter whether she's freezing or not.
Yeah. So that's the perspective of having a stoma from a young person, an adolescent growing up with a stoma. If I move on a little bit now, I share with you my story from the perspective of a parent and to a certain extent its siblings. As you've heard in Ailey's film, children and families of children diagnosed with gut disorders often find it a lonely and frightening experience. For others, searching for help or seeking diagnosis is difficult to know where to look for reliable advice and information. And that's why I'm personally so enthusiastic about raising awareness of Buttony and helping families whose children need stoma surgery. Just over 22 years ago now, like many of you perhaps, I knew nothing about bowel disorders, stomas, and major gastrointestinal surgery. In fact, my two older kids at that time had rarely visited the doctor. And that all changed dramatically when my son was born. In his young life, he's had more than 20 operations, and at various times he's had colostomies and ileostomies. And there were few people to talk to who really understood. My son Fergus was born at home. He was a planned home birth, and it was just a glorious October afternoon. The sun streamed through the window, and we toasted his good health with champagne. You can do that with a home birth.
Yeah.
And everything was perfect.
Now,
Also,
Helen, are you sharing pictures at the moment? Because I think I turned the sharing off. Sorry.
I'm just rabbiting on.
No, not rabbiting.
Sure.
It's very interesting. We also had a cat that was trying to get up on a shelf in Gail's house. Oh, there she goes again.
Yeah, sorry. Distracting by a cat that can't jump onto my shelf.
He's gorgeous. He's gorgeous.
Can you see the pictures now?
We can, yes, that's great.
Oh, that's good. So this is my son, home birth, and as I said, everything seemed perfect. But normally, most new parents are overwhelmed by the number of nappies, but we started to realize that something was seriously wrong with our child because this was a baby that did not poo. We did not get a dirty nappy. And that was the start of a long and very difficult journey for Fergus, who was diagnosed with Hirschsprung disease, which is a rare genetic bowel disorder where the nerve cells are missing from part of the gastrointestinal tract. So it doesn't allow the muscular movements through the digestive tract to push the poo through, and you can end up with a life-threatening bowel obstruction. And as a baby and a young child, he had several life-threatening infections and over 20 operations. And without the skill and care of his surgical team, he wouldn't have survived. At 3 weeks old, he had emergency surgery and he was returned to our arms with his colostomy. And when we got home from the hospital, we really struggled to cope with the management of the condition. There were bags and tubes and creams littering the house. And Fergus's two older sisters, they really got short shrift Parties and outings were ruined. He would spew or he would scream for the duration. And back then, we had a wonderful stoma nurse, but she didn't have a Buttony bear to break the ice and to explain to us and our kids what to expect, you know, in a simple and delightful way. And if you've ever tried changing a bag, a stoma bag, on a wriggly baby with a 3-year-old climbing on your back, you realize what a great asset a Buttony bear could be as a distraction for other children as well. Fast forward 4 years, and here was Fergus, a cheeky wee kilt wearer, and he had an ileostomy at this time, but it didn't bother him. He just, you know, he could wear the kilt, he went to school, but he still didn't have a friendly bear like Buttony to show his mates, explain to them what was wrong with his tummy, why he was different to other children, nor did he have the bear to keep him company and cuddle on hospital visits. And what of the troublesome Fergus? Well, he continues to have chronic issues with his bowel, but today he's a champion judo black belt, and occasionally we do let him borrow Buttony to make up for the years when he didn't have a bear to cuddle.
Yeah.
You know, Buttony can be such a positive thing in the lives of children with a stoma, and the idea is to provide a friendly bear who's the same as them. Buttony helps normalise life for these children, and who doesn't love a bear? Having a bear can help children and their parents explain their condition to family and friends. It demystifies and de-dramatises the situation, as well as raising awareness. Now, this is the film, Pauline, that I've got, which is another film by...
You play it, and I'll edit it out afterwards, Helen, yeah?
Right, or would you just stop?
That's
would you
fine,
mind
yeah,
stopping
absolutely,
recording?
that's
I think that
fine.
I think that would be